Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. Gonna do another book chat today with the Woke Centrist, aka Dusty Cubes, aka Dustin Cubit, aka Sci-Fi Centrist, and we're gonna talk about my two favorite Isaac Asimov short stories that are in his Robot and Foundation universe called The Last Question and The Last Answer, which are really awesome, and they're both about the supercomputer called Multivac. And in the first one, the most basic description without getting into spoilers immediately, but which we are going to get into spoilers for sure, is that in the first one, they build this supercomputer Multivac, which can evolve and create new and improved versions of itself. And the humans wanted to answer the question of whether it can stop the inevitable eventual heat death of the universe. And throughout generations of humans, as we advance technologically and colonize the universe, the newer and newer versions of Multivac is still trying to figure out whether the destruction of the universe can be stopped regardless of how advanced humanity becomes. And then in the second story, The Last Answer, it's about Multivac 2, and it's about a mathematician who goes to the afterlife. And like you were saying the last time we talked about it, he decides that he wants to kill God. So basically, obviously, Multivac plays the role is basically God in these two stories. So what do you think about these stories?
Here's your reminder.
Sorry. Alexa's going off about checking my plants.
Okay.
Oh, Alexa.
Dustin, here's your reminder. Check
Yes, I have a completely automated home where I have all of these reminders to check plants and yada
That's
yada
spelling
yada.
for Isaac Asimov.
Yeah, it's it's basically his future come to life,
Yep.
with Alexa. But yes, both books are short stories. We have an interesting short story about. So it's not made explicit in the second story that God is multivac. So I'm I'm gonna be interested in how you got to that. But
I thought it directly says I am known by many names, and Multivac is one of them among others.
I didn't get that. I thought he was saying God is one of them, but
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong. I just don't
I guess
remember
maybe I just assumed that it was, but because I looked it up
because
and
of the
saw
title.
that this story is a sequel to The Last Question.
Well, if it is indeed a sequel, then I would assume
Yeah,
possibly that yes,
the story is meant to be, as far as I understand, it is meant to be a sequel to The Last Answer is meant to be a sequel to The Last Question.
okay, yeah, then it's totally plausible then that it could be Multivac that he's talking to, because I know it doesn't respond to it as being God, but we do know that what in the story is it's weird because the stories, when you take them both into account, there's definitely this overall narrative if that is the case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these are really interesting stories. I listened to both of them, I think 3 times each, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
me too. 3 or 4 times, I think.
So we got the first story, which actually spans many years. And then the second story is just one moment in time, right?
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
But,
It's
yes.
basically that one's so interesting because it's basically like this mathematician goes to the afterlife and then God says, "Hey, you were going to solve math problems for the rest of your life," and his response his response is, well, fuck that shit. I'm gonna figure out a way to kill you."
Yeah. Yeah, to end its existence.
I think it's I like the first story even more though, because it's so cool that like basically AI evolves to the point where it's literally metaphysical and it survives the heat death of the universe because it's metaphysical, and then it creates a new universe.
Yeah, because I know, like, as the story progresses, you see how humanity progresses, and by close to the end, it looks like Multivac is involved in linking human consciousness.
Yeah,
So it becomes like a human-based supercomputer that pulls from human consciousness, and then in the end, at the very end of the story, well, not the very end, but near the end, humanity abandons physical presence and just is a consciousness.
yeah.
So that was, I thought, was pretty interesting too, that humanity abandoned their bodies to just be some type of intelligence in the world without any physical link to it.
Yeah. And then the interesting thing about that too is that even they still can't survive the destruction of the universe, even though they don't have physical forms anymore.
Right. As I think by the end, they just become a single consciousness instead of like a network of consciousnesses. Is that the right word? Consciousnesses?
Yeah, I think so.
Conscious nigh. Uh, but at the end, yeah, they do merge into this single consciousness that is almost like a godlike consciousness.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's one thing I always like explored in fantasy and science fiction. The way they explore the concept of God is always interesting. Like I was telling you that before I started this, I was talking with Jared Bauer from Wisecrack about the Matrix sequels, and one of my
Mhm.
favorite parts of the whole Matrix trilogy is just Neo's conversation with the architect in The Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah, I remember the very first time I watched that, I didn't get it at all. Like it totally flew over my head. Uh, it took me watching it a couple times before I was able to get some type of grip about what he was talking about. But yeah, I totally remember that. I remember being blown away mainly because I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
I
how does a movie
remember.
do that?
What?
I was like, how does a movie do that? I
Yeah, I
know I
know, right?
watched it and I just don't know what happened there in
Yeah.
that room.
That's another that reminds me another thing Jared and I were talking about was Tenet, because
Hmm.
uh, that's a movie that I watched the first time and my response at the end of it was what the fuck just happened? And then that actually inspired me to watch it again so I could nerd out on it and figure out what the hell is going on. And after I
Right.
figured out what's going on, I thought it was so much cooler.
Mm. Yes. I won't say you won't have that difficulty with these stories.
No,
They're
yeah,
pretty straightforward. They don't get heavily philosophical. It tries to stay within the realm of science fiction mostly. But yeah, the funny way is that the first story starts as a bet, right? You
yeah,
have
I
these
think so.
guys like working, and I think they're actually drunk or something, if I'm not mistaken. They had been drinking,
Yeah, I think so.
and one of them, I think they make the wager that Multivac would be able to answer the question.
Hmm.
And his reply is pretty much the same throughout the whole story. Do you remember what his reply was?
Yeah, insufficient data for meaningful answer.
Yeah, insufficient data for a meaningful answer. And this question actually keeps getting asked throughout the ages, and that is the answer throughout most of the story, I believe. Does he finally, like, yeah, he finally figures it out in the end, right?
I think he figured doesn't Multivac figure it out like right after the universe is destroyed, which is what allows it to create a new one? Something like that?
Well, what I know, what I remember is after he figured it out, there was no physical presence that can enact the plan. to
Right.
solve it or to save it.
Right.
And then that's where he goes into his next phase, which was uh, literally let there be light. So when
Yeah.
he says this, do you think that this is the future or the past that
That's a
they're
really
referencing?
interesting question, right? Because you see that's one of the aspects of it that's so interesting because at the end you see that the universe is destroyed and then Multivac creates a new universe. So it makes you wonder, well, if time is cyclical like this, then is this the future or the past? Like, were there already previous universes before us? And like, is our universe is what what humans originally thought was God? Was that actually in the past? Humans already had advanced to the point where they could create an AI, and the universe already existed and has been destroyed. And this is another universe. And what number is it? And how many universes have there been?
Right. So it's interesting. It's almost like he's setting up this short story as the genesis of his like universe that he's created, like
Yeah,
the Genesis story. But if this is indeed the case, then the question is this is he in fact talking about a cyclical universe, or is this the Big Bang that he is discussing here, like the original Big Bang, or is it a future Big Bang that uh, happens way off in the distant future? So that's
yeah,
something I was thinking about, like where in time does this actual story takes place?
yeah. It's really like that's of the things that's so cool about it because it's one of the aspects of it that's just kind of ambiguous and open to interpretation. And
Right.
it's interesting regardless of which direction you go with it, really.
Yeah. So it keeps you. Well, he doesn't, tie off the loose ends, which is interesting because I know in a lot of his stories that they tend not to end ambiguously, except for a lot of these short stories tend to
Yeah,
end
that's
ambiguously.
yeah, that's one of the cool things about short stories. Like like the good guy can die because it's just the short narrative. There doesn't have to be any character development or anything like that, which is like one of the things that's cool about short stories and like why to me it's cool that short stories are cool in their own way and those in longer books have both their advantages and their disadvantages because the character development and the escalation of the plot and all those kind of cool things about an actual novel are really cool too.
Hmm. Yeah. So the first, um, did you want to talk? Let's talk about the last answer.
Okay.
So one of the things I thought, like the scientist, I thought was pretty damn arrogant. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but it's funny because he dies. Was it like an accident that he was doing some type of experiment, right? And then there was an accident,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he has an out of body experience,
Yeah.
but the out of body experience is actually death. He has died, and he's
Yeah.
able to view himself outside of his own body.
Hmm.
And
That makes you wonder too. Well, sorry, I'll let you finish describing it first because it relates to that.
yeah, I was just gonna say, actually, so he goes into the space, and it does. I think he does see the light at the end of the tunnel, or something similar to that. He has a similar experience.
Yeah, I think so.
But when it comes to a halt, he has a conversation with an entity that doesn't really describe itself as God, but is basically God by the omnipotence he shares. But so the omnipotence is described as he knows basically everything except how he was created or where he came into being. So he kind of has like this verbal debate with the scientist. And at first, like God is like, "Oh, I'm just here because you might have an amusing thought that might fascinate me."
Hmm. Yeah,
So
that's
the only
interesting. Like you can look at it as God created humans because he was bored and he thought maybe they can surprise me.
yeah, so he basically tasks the scientist with all I need you to do is think, and that is it. And the scientist is offended by this notion. He's offended because he's tasked to do this for the amusement of this being. And I think his first, was this his first thing that he wanted to do was figure out how to, was it like kill himself, right?
Yeah.
He said he was going to figure out how to kill himself, and then the godlike being was like, "Well, go ahead and do that, but I'm just going to bring you back to life anyway."
Yeah.
And then
That's
that's
what
where,
the examination of afterlife is so fascinating. Like basically if you die and go to the afterlife, it's like eternal torture. It's nothing good about it.
yeah, it's not described as good, especially in this short story. It's more like, oh, I'm here at this entity's amusement. Like it's nothing like being with your family and friends. 'Cause he's basically isolated, and he doesn't have any communication with any other entity besides the omnipotent one.
Hmm.
So he's kind of like in this thought prison, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, it makes it
after,
another aspect you mentioned is interesting too, that Multivac doesn't remember how or why it got created anymore, which is really interesting. And that's another reason I can see why I can see why you were saying that it maybe isn't necessarily even Multivac.
yeah, it's pretty ambiguous. Like they don't expressly say what this entity is.
Yeah,
Um, but if you were to kind of give it an analog, I guess it would just be God or an omnipotent being of some sort.
hmm,
But after he is told that suicide would basically be impossible, he tells the entity to his face, "Well, then I'm going to think about a way of destroying you then." And the entity is like, "Yeah, go ahead. You're not the only one, and many others have tried, so you can go ahead and try your hand at it." And
yeah,
that's kind of,
that's so interesting too. Like doesn't Multivac say at some point something like that was quicker than the others? Usually it takes
yeah.
people more
So
time to come to that conclusion.
yeah, so yeah, the guy is obviously smart, and according to Multivac, has an accelerated pace for thinking out things. So I think in the end, Multivac might be wishing his demise, and it's possible that that's his motive all along, right?
Hmm.
So it sounds like Multivac is just bored as hell, and if these people want to kill him, so be it, because he has nothing better to do than die.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting.
So that is so out of the two stories, because they're both linked. I'm guessing when it says let there be light, it's almost as if Multivac's memory got erased from his previous incarnation.
Yeah, I wonder if I never thought about that before, but I wonder if maybe the reason that Multivac doesn't remember why it was created, or how it was created, is that maybe this multivac is the new and evolved version, and with creating a new universe, it basically erased its memory, or it just is a completely new version, and it's even more different from the other versions of it before that evolved.
Right. So there's a lot of weird intricacies in this story, mainly because he left it vague. Like the links aren't explained, so you kind of have to create your own breadcrumbs, or at least try to follow the breadcrumbs and create your own story of why these two things, these two events, two stories are connected.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So,
But
which is your favorite of the two?
I'd have to say the second one. The second one has to be my favorite. It's just has that kind of punch at the end, you know. And at least in the second story, they kind of established a character. Because in the first story, there are many characters, but they just kind of have a really short existence in that short story, and they're just kind of used to move the plot along.
That's
But
that's kind of like an aspect of classic sci-fi in some ways. Like there are a lot of Asimov stories that, and other classic sci-fi authors that are that way. Like the Foundation series in particular, more so than the Robot series, because obviously those ones have two main characters. But a lot of there aren't very many characters in the Foundation series that go on throughout the series, really, other than maybe like ancestors.
yeah, I know. And did you read any of the Foundation prequels?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read all of them.
Yeah, because I know the prequels follow characters throughout the three books.
Oh,
I
okay, I
know,
didn't remember that.
and I know some of his kind of his side stories, or that deal inside of the universe also follow some characters. Like I know there's a trilogy about a detective
Oh,
who
okay.
kind of investigates like robot crimes. Well, they're not robot crimes itself.
Isn't that the Robot series? Like the iRobot series?
Um, I don't know what the series is called, but it's just, is it part of the robot series? I think it
Yeah,
is,
I think
maybe.
that's the Robot series. Like I think the robot's name is R. Daniil Oliva. I can't remember the human's
Oh
name.
yeah. Well, yeah, I know what you're talking about. That the kind of like
They solve
god
crimes
robot.
basically, right?
Yeah, Olivar is like the god robot, I guess, or the original robot.
Yeah.
But the trilogy I'm talking about, I think that he has a robot partner in most of these stories, and that's his partner.
Yeah. And an interesting thing about the original Robot series, is that a lot of them are all about ways that robots have figured out ways to navigate around the three laws of robotics.
Right, right. And it's I think as a story, like as a narrative, those robot novels, because they all have reoccurring characters, are a bit easier to follow. The prequel series in Foundation, and then the last two Foundation books, were written later on. Because I know most of the Foundation, I think it's like 5 books or something,
I
if I'm
think
not
so, yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first three were written like 20 years, at least 20 years before like the last two.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, because he wrote the last two books, and he wasn't even planning on writing any further books in that series. I think it's because it was popular, and the publisher was like pushing him to do it.
Oh, okay.
But you
Like the
can
Matrix
tell,
Resurrection.
yeah. So you can tell that at least in writing quality, the last two books are a lot better, just in the way that the story is told.
Hmm.
Because I know some of the early books are basically like the first Foundation and the second one are they're books, but they're also anthologies,
Yeah,
a collection of short stories within that particular universe.
yeah,
So it's not until the later books that it becomes like a straight up complete story from beginning to end, where they stick with one character and end with that character.
yeah, that's for sure. I like that anthology style kind of. It's interesting, but it's like they're not actually short stories. It just takes place throughout a series of different characters. It's an interesting way to do a novel that way.
Yeah, because I know the first Foundation book was an actual compilation of short stories in the same universe. So when he released these, they were released in science fiction magazines. So he would write like one story, he would publish it, and then write another story in that same universe.
Yeah,
Because
that's how a lot of classic sci-fi and fantasy started out. Like other than Lord of the Rings, of course, like there was pulp fantasy like Conan, for example, or Conan, I should say, of course. Just like how there was a lot of sci-fi in those classic magazines.
yeah, because I know the Foundation series basically revolves around this fictional scientific study that predicts everything.
Right.
And all the books are about basically people who are trying to either follow that, crack it, or because there's a couple things going on. Because the Foundation is actually a name for a, I don't know what you want to call it, a group of scientists who are able to predict the future using mathematical models.
Yeah, basically.
Uh,
What does they
yeah,
call it? They
so
call it psychohistory, right?
yeah,
Basically,
psychohistory. There you
yeah.
go. I was like, psychohistory. It's like the history of psychopaths, or what's going on here? Um, so yeah, it's basically like it's a science that it's a predictive science. So and it revolves around this fake scientific, or I don't know, pseudoscientific, whatever you want to call it, mathematical model that was made by this one guy. I forgot the guy's name,
Yeah, I forget
but
it too.
he gets referenced in basically all the books. And then in the prequel, I think it's three. I'm not sure if it's two or three books in the prequel, but in the prequel, they just follow the creator of that discipline. From when he's a young college student to when he's like old and he has like a family.
Right.
So, and this universe is quite expansive because the Foundation universe actually crosses into the robot universe.
Yeah, that's what's so cool. Isaac Asimov created his own universe like way before the Cosmere, but after Tolkien.
Yeah, and it makes me want to read all these books over again.
Me too. Me too.
um,
I do definitely want to. I wanted to do book chats about the Foundation series at some point for sure. Maybe we could do
yeah,
like the Foundation series on my channel and the like robot series on your channel.
yeah, that'd be cool. I'd definitely be up for that.
Sweet.
But yeah, I was thinking, man, the only thing that ruins this whole series for me, or a lot of parts of the series, is Scott Brick.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of his
Oh yeah, I remember
audiobooks.
you telling me that before. Yeah, I read all of them as either physical books or ebooks, so I didn't have to experience that.
Yeah, so I did everything via audiobook, and the vast majority of them are read by Scott Brick. So I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
oh God. Um, that's why the earlier books are very hard for me to digest. It's just I'm trying to listen to these books, but Scott Brick is like the worst character voice artist because all of his characters sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
And are hard to differentiate when they're having a conversation. And they all sound like over dramatic, like divas. Like all the characters sound like this. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, Scott Brick, why?
Yeah, you like kind of ruined Heart of Darkness for you too.
Yeah, the first book, I was like, oh, let's see if I can tolerate this. And then 20 minutes in, it was Scott Brick doing a fake British accent. And I was like, no, yeah,
Oh
no, I
wow.
don't think so.
I don't even
So,
read that as people having British accents.
well, what
Maybe
is
even
it? Like, is it the
I guess
characters from where?
maybe they are British though. I guess I didn't read it that way in my head because of my like bias of just reading it in my own accent.
Yeah, so the fake British accent on top of it being Scott Brick, did not work. So I found another book by another reader, and it was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I was able to tolerate. Um, I guess it's the hardest thing about reading that book is kind of the old dialogue, like the oldish dialogue style. How the characters talk, like the
Yeah,
by the by and all that. I was like, oh, what do you mean? What are you talking about by the by?
I really like the internal monologues of the main character. I think are really interesting.
Yeah. That's definitely cool. But if I go back to that, I need to read it. I can't.
It's
Uh,
beautiful when you read it. The writing is it's so beautiful.
it's so beautiful to me. But
You're beautiful.
so this compilation of stories, the last answer and the last question. Um, did you get this from the robot? What was it called? Robot Dreams anthology.
Actually, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure I just like stumbled upon the audiobook versions of them on YouTube one time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Because the only
sure.
way I had access was to get it through an Asimov anthology of short stories.
Yeah, the narrator of whichever one I listened to on YouTube was great, and there were even like sound effects in some parts of it
What?
too. Yeah,
All right, you'll need to send me that version. I gotta check that out.
yeah, it's cool.
There were no sound effects in my version.
Oh, okay. I must have listened to that one too, because I also listened to it in the Robot Dreams compilation that you sent me.
Okay, so you've heard a couple different versions. It sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
Okay. Because the Robot Dreams reader, I actually heard him read other Asimov books also,
Okay.
so I was
Yeah, he's
familiar
a pretty
with
good
his.
narrator.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with him. The funny thing about him is like when he reads it, it sounds like science fiction from the 1950s, like a radio show or something.
Yeah,
So it's almost like it fits the time period in which these stories were written.
yeah.
I know they weren't written in the 50s, but Asimov, his career kind of started in the 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So, and he had
yeah,
written tons and tons of books.
yeah.
And I think for like 40 or 50 years that he had
Yeah,
written books.
he's something like I think I might have heard before that he's the most prolific author other than L. Ron Hubbard. I should just go hang up that phone here. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, have you heard that before? That Isaac Asimov is like the most prolific, at least the most prolific science fiction author other than L. Ron Hubbard?
Oh no, I don't even know how many books L. Ron Hubbard has written, but
I'm
I
pretty sure
know.
they've both written hundreds.
Yeah. When I go into Goodreads and search Asimov's name, it's almost like the list never ends.
Yeah,
It just basically scrolls forever and ever and ever. Like, damn, man. The guy was probably constantly writing 24/7. So
yeah,
that or is just very quick.
yeah. It could be
Probably
like
very
Brandon
quick, and he
Sanderson, right?
probably didn't have many revisions.
Yeah,
They just
yeah,
crank out a story, first draft, bam,
yeah. He could be
done.
like Brandon Sanderson, right?
Yeah, but I think if I think Asimov was probably more prolific,
Oh yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
but I think also Sanderson tends to write longer books, so they
yeah,
might be
yeah.
roughly equal. Who knows?
Yeah, Asimov did write a hell of a lot of short stories. He wrote a hell of a lot of books too, but I don't think anything that he wrote was as long as the Stormlight Archive.
No, not. Oh no. Yeah, if you took all the Foundation books and robot books, maybe,
Yeah,
but
maybe.
uh, but Brandon Sanderson's not done. He's got
No, he's
what,
like
6 more
less than
books?
halfway through it, right?
Yeah, he has 6 more books to go.
Yeah.
I don't know how and they're all pretty good,
Yeah, I'd say
pretty
so.
decent books.
I'm
But
not a big fan of the second one, like I said, but I like
oh, the one that was Shalon.
yeah, Words
I
of
thought it
Radiance.
was I thought it was okay. I just the pacing wasn't very well.
Yeah,
Um,
the pacing is what really made me kind of bored for a lot of it.
yeah, the pacing was very slow, and I liked the character development
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Shalon's history
And the
and the big
like
plot twists with
yeah, yeah.
her.
And the
What?
big fight with Kaladin, right?
Well, that one has like the duel, like the
Yeah.
duel where he goes into the duel with him and um the the brother that's not that good at fighting.
Not
But
Adolin?
they no, not well. He goes in with Adolin and someone and his younger brother, I think. Is
Okay.
Adolin the younger brother?
I don't remember, but Adolin's good at fighting already at that point, isn't he?
Oh, okay. We're talking about the brother that has like the broken spren,
Oh, okay.
who's kind of like thought as being like the weak one.
Oh, okay.
And I think they put him
Yeah.
in like shard plate or something, or and
Okay.
they give Adolin just the sword.
It's
But that
still
was
a
like yeah, that was a pretty good. That was a
yeah.
good fight scene.
And it's still a really good series overall. I like the first book a lot, and my favorite book is the third book, and the fourth one is really good too.
Yeah, I really like that first book, the slave. I just liked the whole slave thing and how it was tough for him to survive,
Yeah.
and the introduction to the world. Typically, a lot of times I choose the introduction to the world as my favorite, um, but to me, it would be yeah, three is very good too. Only problem I had with three is that I thought some parts of the big climactic battle were kind of like dragging,
Oh,
which is
really?
kind of weird. Yeah, because there's like a lot of stuff going on in the last battle, and then you always had, oh, here's um, what's his name? The former. Well, the book three is about one character's backstory. What's his name? Um,
I don't
the
remember what.
Blackthorn is what they call him, or
Oh, Dalinar.
Dalinar. Yeah, the third
Yeah,
book is about Dalinar. Like a lot of his past stuff is really good too.
that's definitely my favorite part of the book. All the flashbacks with Dalinar.
But I thought the weakest part was during the last battle, almost the entire time, Dalinar is just like in this red cloud.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
basically, the only
Was it the end of the third one where there was that awesome fight between Kaladin and Zeph?
Kaladin and Zeph.
The guy who's the
The
first
third.
shard blade bearer at the start of the Way of Kings, who is like evil and becomes good, basically.
Zeph.
Yeah, Zeph.
Oh, Zeph. He fights him in this first book and the second book, I think.
So
Because you get
they have that awesome epic like Sky Dragon Ball Z battle at the end of the second one, Words of Radiance.
yeah, the third book, Zeph is already on the side of good by that time.
Okay, yeah, that's
Because
definitely my
remember, and
favorite part of Words of Radiance. Then that's
because in the last, yeah, in the last battle in book three, Zeph has the sword from Warbreaker, and he
oh
uses
right,
it.
Nightblood. Yeah,
Yeah, he uses Nightblood, and I think during that battle, the slippery girl, I forget her name.
the
I
slippery
know,
girl.
yeah, the girl who has like slippery powers.
I don't I don't remember.
She has like like a short novella based on her. Like her radiant power is that she can heal, and then she can slip around, like make surfaces slippery.
Hmm. Was that one of the stories in Arcanum Unbounded?
Yes,
Okay.
it's
Do
one of
you,
it's the longest story in Arcanum Unbounded.
is it the one that's related to Elantris?
No, it's
No?
a girl who, well, the story in Arcanum Unbounded, this girl is like breaking into a palace. Her power is fueled like everyone's power, they have to use Stormlight. Her, she has to eat
Oh, okay.
food. You don't remember this girl?
No. No.
Wow, because
Which
she
story? Do you remember? You don't remember the name of this story?
well, if I look it up right now, I'm pretty sure I could find it.
Okay.
Let me
I
just
think
take a
I
look.
think if you gave me like a basic description, I would remember.
Um, just give me a second. I'll find it.
That's not the one. I think like one of my actually no. That was a shorter one. I was gonna say like my favorite one is that one, um, Silence for Shadows in the Deep of Dusk or something like that one. You know where that woman's going through that like dark forest and she has to kill demons, but she can't let a drop of blood spill on the ground.
No, it's not that because the
I know
short story takes place on the same planet as
Roshar.
everything that happens. Yeah, it's on Roshar.
Okay.
So and it's in some of the cities. Because she does travel, and I know in the fourth book some of the characters from that book come out. So let me see. Unbounded. Is that was it? Dancer?
You're
What's
getting
the
all
name of the book?
robot-y.
Edge Dancer.
Oh, Edge Dancer. Okay. Yeah.
That girl. That's the
Okay.
girl I'm talking about.
Okay.
If you remember who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I remember now you mention that. Yeah.
Okay, so in that book, she is fighting along with Seth in that final battle at that. I guess it's like a tower that they find in the middle of the shattered plain. That is, it's full of old technology that they don't really have. Like they're kind of studying it. And the fourth book is weird, right? Because the fourth book is about because every single book is about the history of a character.
Yeah.
The first is Kaladin, second is Shalon, third is Dalinar, and the fourth is one of the crab people.
Yeah. What are they called again?
The Singers?
Are they?
Well, yeah, that's what they call
Yeah.
them. Well,
Yeah.
that's what they call themselves.
Oh, okay.
They call themselves the Singers. I forgot what they call Parchman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Parch.
well, the
Parch.
Parchmen are the
Yeah.
ones that have limited agency, and ones that have like full agency. What are they called? They're called something else. I don't remember.
Hey,
Stormlight Archive.
on a totally different note, you should go and comment on that guy who was always critical of us on the Mixed Mental Arts Facebook group posted a very favorable comment
Oh,
in that James Lindsay video that we both hated.
yeah. Yeah, I saw that. I'm gonna comment on that later, but yeah, there's so much wrong with James Lindsay. Like the weird thing about James Lindsay is, I swear, I was listening to that and I felt like I don't remember a time where James Lindsay was this incoherent.
Yeah, I thought that too. Like it was so fucking exhausting. I could, like I said, I bailed on it twice. I don't know why I subjected myself to that much torture.
Yeah, I was like, man, this is starting to get to like Jordan Peterson levels of incoherency.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus. And when I say Jordan Peterson levels of incoherency, um, basically I'm talking about when people get conspiratorial about socialism.
Yeah.
You know, with Jordan Peterson, it was always
go for the Great Reset.
yeah. With Jordan Peterson, it was like everything leads to the gulag, which
Yep.
in itself is a basically slippery slope argument.
Yeah.
James Lindsay is doing the same thing, basically. The Sovietization of America. Like, what the hell are
Yeah.
you talking about? This is so stupid.
So funny. And then they
Yeah,
want, and then
Sovietization.
they talked about they talked about their shared like kind of conspiracy level views about the COVID shit.
Oh, I didn't even get that far.
Oh yeah.
I did not get that far.
James Lindsay is totally like kind of become a crackpot about the COVID shit like Thaddeus Russell unfortunately has.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm inside this this Facebook group that's it's basically a Facebook group, an enthusiast Facebook group for Eric and Brett Weinstein's content.
Oh, okay.
And Eric has actually posted in this group before in the past. I don't know if he's active in it anymore, but there's like talk about ivermectin. And even inside this group that has enthusiasts like for Brett, there's a lot of people going on and debunking like all the bullshit that Brett has been saying
Oh,
about
good.
ivermectin. I was like really surprised because I thought it was going to be just like Kool-Aid drinkers, you know. But there are actually like knowledgeable people who, when I say knowledgeable, you know, there's like dumbasses. Because I think someone posted a link that there's going to be some type of new drug to
Oh yeah, I saw that.
combat the coronavirus, and then some guy's like, yeah, they're just taking ivermectin and putting a different name on it, and so that they could profit. And then one guy who actually looked up the studies is like, well, this drug has a completely different molecule and delivery system from ivermectin. And the guy's like, well, I don't trust drug companies and blah, blah, blah. You know, just like the stupid stuff that,
That's such
you
a
know,
weird place to go with that. Like,
yeah, like immediately he went to, it has to be ivermectin prepackaged with a different name. That's where he immediately went to.
I thought people would just be like anti that pill because they're also anti-vax.
Well, usually all these anti-vax people though are like pro ivermectin.
Yeah. So, well, that makes sense if you think it's ivermectin, but I don't see why you would think it's ivermectin.
No clue. Well, they said, oh, it's ivermectin because ivermectin isn't patented and they can't make their money off of the ivermectin. It's like, yeah. But
That's
ivermectin, it hasn't really been fully studied to see if it actually works.
It's only been shown to be effective for river blindness, right? Like when people say it's a Nobel Prize winning drug, it's for curing river blindness, which is not even the same type of thing as COVID.
Yeah, it's been shown to be an anti-parasitic in people as well as animals. There's some non-human uses where they said that it has significantly reduced like viral replication. But the problem with those studies is that the doses that they gave these rats are not actually safe for
Yeah,
humans.
it was like massively, it was like exponentially larger than anything a human could handle, right?
Right. So it's like, yeah, but this stuff isn't safe to take in those doses. And they didn't try it in humans either, so you know, it couldn't be that it might not react the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
But who's going to
Yeah,
be willing to take that big of a dose? I don't know.
yeah. People really hate us
Well,
talking shit about the
we already see
ivermectin
what
people, right?
happens when people take too much of the horse paste. Like they go to the ER with a bunch of symptoms
Yeah,
like diarrhea and shit like that. So
yeah.
I don't know.
It's so stupid that like some people will like not take vaccines because but then they'll take like some people will even go take like the veterinary like literally horse paste like you said, and then some people will at least get the human version of the drug. But like
No, yeah. Some people get the human version. Some people take the horse paste.
yeah.
I've been following like I know we're talking about freaking like Corona shit on a Asimov stream, but
Yeah.
I was following this blog. I don't know if you can call it a blog or a website or what. It's called sorryantivaxxer.com.
Okay.
And what it does is basically people post entries, and then a lot of these entries are people who are extremely anti-vaccine, and they were able to find proof through social media that they were extremely anti-vaccine. And in order to be nominated to this site, you have to have gone to the hospital or died of COVID.
Oh shit. Wow.
So it's a bunch of like most of the people though on the site are not living, but they're
That's
like a
sad.
bunch of, it is sad. So it's like, okay, a bunch of anti-vax people died of COVID when likely if they had taken the shot, they probably would have survived.
Yeah. Oh, I was talking to my friend recently. Like I don't say I wouldn't to like I'm against the vaccine mandates because I think people should be allowed to not take the vaccine if they want to, and she didn't take it.
Hmm.
And but she was saying like the vaccines, I don't even think the vaccine's that effective. And I said, well, you know, there are actually multiple replicated studies that have shown that it's enormously effective. And like in our province right now, we just like the restrictions just ramped up again because COVID waves started going up and the hospitals started getting overcrowded, and 90% of the people who are going to the hospital have COVID and haven't been vaccinated.
Mm.
Like, this would be less of a problem if people got vaccinated.
Yeah, we got, by this point, millions and millions and millions of sample points of how effective this is. It's not a study now. We could effectively say, look who's going to the hospital and dying.
Mm-hmm.
It's mainly the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
A lot of their criticisms, oh, you could still get it. Oh, you can still spread it. But hey, they're not dying at the rates that you guys are.
If you get the like, if you get the vaccine and you get COVID, you won't die from it. That's kind of important.
Yeah, like I think it's like 95%
Yeah.
of hospitalizations and deaths at this point are like unvaccinated individuals.
Yeah.
And on this site I was following that tracks like all these different people who've died, man, there is a guy who you could basically tell this person wasn't of high intelligence. The guy couldn't spell worth a shit. He was racist as hell. I'm actually surprised that Facebook let him let him get away with posting some of the stuff he posted. I think one of the things he posted was like he was going to go on a moon cricket hunt, and the moon cricket is a slur for a black person.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
Oh, I've heard of it. So,
I don't get that. What does it even mean?
Okay, so it means that slaves at night would sing.
Oh.
Like hymnals and stuff, in order to like calm themselves down. So when you heard, they would call them moon crickets because they would sing at night.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So anyway, this guy, after testing positive for COVID, he goes out in the wild, and he even posted that he went shopping at Walmart and shit. So he was like spreading the shit around, unvaccinated. I don't know how many people he got infected. He definitely did if he's out and about with this shit. This is showing you how stupid people can be, because they don't really believe that it's either going to kill them eventually or what. This one eventually killed the guy.
Yeah.
So the guy went and spread it, and he eventually died. I think his wife died too, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not even I'm not even like normally a super like on the ball with getting all the vaccines you're supposed to get. Like I never get the flu shot, and I seem to be fine. But getting COVID
the likelihood
is a way more serious thing than getting the flu.
Yeah, well, COVID has a higher death rate, of course,
Yeah.
And it's not just old people that are dying from this shit. Like, I was on this anti-vaxxer site. I think the youngest person I saw was like 25.
Wow.
But yeah, the guy that died that I was talking about, that was like a imbecile racist. He and his wife were comorbid as fuck, so it's like, yeah, they're gonna fucking die if they get this shit unvaccinated. Just by looking at the comorbid. When you have comorbidities.
No, I said it's so sad.
Yeah, and it's all because stupid fucking. I would say that social media is a big contributor to these people dying for no reason.
Yeah, for sure.
Social media and misinformation.
I think like people trying to censor that though just makes it even worse. Not that you were saying that.
Well, it depends. I don't know. Like, how much reach does Alex Jones have nowadays?
It's hard to say. I mean, probably way less than he did, right?
Yeah.
Did you see those?
Well,
Did you see that thing recently about how he did really bad in those Sandy Hook cases?
yeah, I think one of the investigators asked him, well, you can buy a death certificate for like $20. And his eyes just like, he was looking bewildered, like he didn't know what he was talking about. But I don't know, man. At least we can see that there are obvious effects of misinformation. It depends on whether the people who are peddling this information, whether it's a platform or the people themselves, have any way to answer for their ethical behavior or
Yeah,
unethical behavior.
yeah,
And the problem is, in a capitalist society, there's no monetary incentive to punish any of these people for unethical behavior.
yeah,
So it's like, what do you do? How do you
exactly.
punish these people for unethical behavior when there's no law against what they're doing? There's no monetary punishment except for, I guess, Alex Jones. He kind of crossed the line
Yeah.
when it comes to the law itself
Mhm.
by defaming actual people and telling lies about them. And I say defaming, he was saying that some of the parents were like crisis actors and weren't real, and like their children weren't really dead.
Yeah,
He's saying stupid shit like this, and it
yeah,
actually caused them like documentable harm that they
yeah,
were able to like actually see. He's like, yeah, there's some crazy. Like I remember seeing news stories, local news stories, where there are like these dumbass people camping out like one of the victims' parents, telling them that they were fake. This grieving family who lost their kids. It's like
yeah.
Jesus.
It's fucked up. Yeah,
But I don't know. There's just not many levers to pull when someone has like this highly unethical behavior. And I think like a lot of this like vaccine stuff is by people who've probably got it
yeah.
and they're just saying this shit to make some money.
Did you see that? Did you did you see that thing about uh, people commenting on Dave Rubin's recent interview, and he got asked whether he got vaccinated, and he said something like, "Oh, that's none of your business." Or what if I asked you like the last time you got laid?
The answer to that is yes. That's why he said it's none of your business.
Yeah. The funny thing too is like he can say that because it can be interpreted as it can be interpreted as him saying I don't want to have to say that I've not been vaccinated so that he can support all the like anti-vax fans of his.
Yeah, he's saying that to obscure the fact. Well, I'm not going to say it's a fact. He's obscuring that he has been vaccinated because if he were to say yes, that would cause some ripples in the people who follow him.
Yeah. At least
Because
like
there's no reason for him not to say. There's no reason for him not to say no, but there are definitely tons of reasons for him not to say yes.
yeah, exactly. At least like at least out of all of these people who are spreading misinformation about it, at least Ben Shapiro has admitted that he's been vaccinated.
Yeah, he's because he's at least intelligent when it comes to looking at statistics, I guess.
Yeah,
But of course, he's going to say people have the right to choose,
yeah.
and I think that's pretty. I think people should have the right to choose,
Hmm.
but there should also be mechanisms in place so that if the people don't choose, we could still make sure that they're acting in good faith with their choice and
Yeah,
not spreading shit around. Like, I know what the mandatory thing is going to be. Oh, you either get vaccinated or you take a weekly test.
yeah,
Those are your options.
yeah. I
And a
think
lot of
that's
whenever
that's
there's
a good
arguments,
compromise.
people always leave that fact out that you can get a weekly test. So you don't have to get vaccinated if you don't want to.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was an interesting thing with I think I told you before in our recent Canadian federal election, I liked the Green Party candidate's policy on that. Uh she was against vaccine mandates because she wanted to go and educate people, like she said, like indigenous people and people in lower classes of society, because they tend to be the most skeptical about this stuff, because they have, with their history of the way they've been treated by the government, they have more reason to be skeptical of medical institutions. So it makes
Mm.
more sense to educate them about it and convince them to get vaccinated than to demand that they get vaccinated.
Yeah, because I know in America, like, I think it's African Americans have a lower rate than most other people,
Yeah, yeah,
and
I think so.
that's because it's the same reasons, a lack of trust.
Hmm.
Um, because at least they can point to things happening in the past where that was an actual issue,
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
So, but if you really think about it now, they're telling everybody to take it. It's not like they're singling out a particular race.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
not like if you go to the local Walgreens, if you're black, they're going to swap out like the black version of the vaccine and give it to you.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So, because I've talked to people, I have coworkers and stuff who say like that they don't trust it. I was like, okay, I don't argue with them. I was like, hey, I'm protected, so you know, I don't have to worry about you giving it to me and me dying. But you do you, and I'll
Yep,
do me.
it's pretty much the attitude I have too.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's like the corona has dominated conversation for so long. I
Yeah,
remember, like, one of my family rituals here at home is during dinner, we always watch local news. And I
okay.
remember for almost a solid year, it was just coronavirus coverage. And there's still coronavirus coverage.
Yep.
It's not done. Um, but the news segments would be dominated by it. But right now, it's mainly about getting people protected for stuff like school and about these mandates and people not wanting to go along with them and fighting against them.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I think we're kind of rounding the bend now. Uh, I think this winter hopefully will be our last coronavirus winter. I know
Yeah, I hope so too.
because I know we spiked last winter, so kind of expecting a bit of the same this winter.
Yeah,
I know that the kid vaccine should be coming out soon, so that's a big plus.
that'll be controversial.
Well, yeah, of course it is. They're gonna be, oh, myocarditis, blah 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 blah. Well, guess what? When your kid gets coronavirus, they're gonna get myocarditis too, and it's gonna be a worse version of it.
That's not good, man.
No, it's not. So I don't know. I don't want my kid to go to hospital. I don't want anybody to go to hospital.
Yeah, of course.
Um, Especially here in America, where it's gonna bankrupt you.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. It's free if
so
you go to the hospital here in Canada. Like,
yeah, all these people who are surviving after like 2 months stay in the ICU, I can't imagine what their medical bills are going to be like.
yeah, man.
So not only are they getting sick, if they survive, well, even if they don't survive, who do those bills pass off to?
Yeah.
Somebody gets to pay that damn bill. You know?
Yeah.
And if you're married, and it's your spouse, that bill is your bill.
You can make a conservative argument for that. Like here in particular. Oh, you mean all these snowflakes are clogging up the medical system? They're making these people with the victim mentalities are making the hospitals all clogged up for all of us.
Right. It's not, yeah, because the victim mentality has now switched over. It used to be like, oh, we're the conservatives, we are the ones who are always pointing out that liberals have a victim mentality, and it all depends on what the issue is.
Mm-hmm.
They all have victim mentalities depending on which issue you thrust before them. In this case, the victim mentality is the mandates.
Yeah.
It's whatever. Yeah, it's just dumb. It's stupid. Like, I know what Candace Owens is like, oh yeah, victim mentality, and then she's all spouting this bullshit about the coronavirus. It's like, oh, stand up for your freedoms, blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, victim mentality. Yeah, the same people say that shit about inequality, and they're gonna come out and say the exact same thing in
Yeah.
defense of like this coronavirus shit, and you don't see how hypocritical you are when you criticize somebody about their victim mentality.
They're not the marginalized ones. We're the marginalized ones.
But yeah, man, it's crazy shit.
Yeah,
Dealing with this shit.
for sure, man.
Yeah, this became the coronavirus chat. The
Yeah,
coronavirus political chat.
yeah. That often happens lately.
It dominates the conversation. That's for sure.
Yep.
That is for sure.
You have to get going, don't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get going in a little bit. Got to pick up my girl from the bus stop.
All right.
But yeah, it's nice having a chat there.
Yeah. Thanks for talking, man.
Yeah. One thing I'm gonna try to watch as much. How far are you into Castlevania?
So I barely even started.
Yeah, same here.
Okay.
I'll try. If not, did you want to do some type of impromptu discussion about current events or something?
Yeah, that might be a better idea because I don't think I'll be able to watch all the episodes before tomorrow either.
Okay, yeah. Hey, here's what we could talk about. Let's talk about Dave Chappelle's new special. Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't, but I could watch it tonight.
All right, so go watch it, and that will be what we'll talk about. And
Sweet.
also, after you watch the special, go read the news articles slamming it.
Okay. I saw that people were mad about it, but
Yeah, well, every single time he releases a special, someone's mad about it.
yeah, of course.
But this time the heat is pretty heavy, even though I didn't see anything particularly egregious about this one. But anyway, check it out. It's really good.
Okay. Is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's going to be
Okay.
his last one for a while. That's what he says.
Oh, okay.
And it's called The Closer.
He apparently started or is starting a podcast.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, it's really funny. I laughed quite a bit. And
He's always funny.
the
I bet
funny
I will
thing,
too.
yeah, the cool thing that he does in this one is he references like some of his past specials
Oh, okay. Cool.
in joke, like you know what a tag is in comedy?
Like,
When you mention something earlier and then you bring it back.
oh yeah, of course. Oh, I love it when
Yeah,
comedians do that.
he does that, except he does it with his last special.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You'll see what I mean when you watch it.
Okay,
It's funny.
looking
All
forward.
right, man. Well, did you want to do your whole closing
Yeah,
spiel and all that?
yeah. So yeah, thanks again everyone for watching our awesome science fiction discussion plus politics and COVID, as often happens. And subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell to be notified when we come out with more videos. We're going to be talking about Blade on Sunday, which should be awesome. And thanks especially to those of you, if you want to go to my Patreon page, link is in the description there, as it always is. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and grooves in the heart. And Isaac Asimov is awesome. Read his stories. And don't let public intellectuals fool you. Try to seek information from a variety of different sources. I'm not going to say do your own research, because that's what conspiracy theorists say.
Yeah, it's kind of become like this meme to point out that you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so yeah, thanks again. And anything else you want to say before we end it there, Dusty?
No, that's all. Join us tomorrow on my channel. We're going to talk about Dave Chappelle's new special and like the backlash it has received.
Yeah, Woke Centrist. Go subscribe if you haven't already.
Right, right.
All right. Thanks again, everyone, and adios until next time.